So this is why I said before earlier, why would Peter have to tell them, hey, these guys aren't drunk? If it
Right.
was just them speaking in a language, I've never looked at somebody when I was
Okay.
in South Korea, Afghanistan, Iraq, and they were speaking another language, and I'm like, man, this guy's drunk. If
Okay.
they were just speaking other languages, there was a reason why they thought the people were drunk. And so Peter clarifies. He says, look, they're not drunk. This is what was prophesied by Joel, that
Okay.
the Spirit would be poured upon all flesh. Your sons and daughters shall prophesy, and your young men shall see visions. So then in Acts 2:38, he's telling them what you see happening here, the promises unto you and to your children and to all that are far
Okay.
off. He says, you shall receive the gift of the Holy Ghost. So I guess the question for you, Pastor Parr, is what does that mean, receiving the
Okay.
gift of the Holy Ghost? How do
Yeah.
you interpret that?
Okay. That's a great question. So the first thing we have to do is we have to go back and we have to look at Acts chapter 2 and actually be in agreement. You and I have to be in agreement with what happened in the book of Acts chapter 2 and what is the original gift of tongues. And I was trying to get to it earlier, but we just didn't get around to it because this is a misunderstanding. The original gift of tongues, which is crystal clear in the book of Acts chapter 2, is that there were a group of people who were speaking. They were speaking, and there were other people on the other side who were hearing the gospel being preached in their own language, right? But it never says in the text that those who were speaking in tongues were speaking a known language. It doesn't say that, right? It doesn't say that at all. It says, let's just read it. It says in verse 5, now there were staying in Jerusalem God-fearing Jews from every nation under heaven. When they heard this sound, a crowd came together in bewilderment because each one heard their own language being spoken, right? And so it doesn't say that the people speaking in tongues were speaking in a known language. It says that they were speaking and the people were hearing whatever they were saying in their own language. So whatever they were saying wasn't a known language. Think about it, because if it were, then people wouldn't have said they're drunk. They would have said, oh, he's speaking Spanish, he's speaking French, he's speaking English, he's speaking Russian, right? Whatever they were saying was some spirit-filled language that was enough to make the people around them say, these people are drunk. But to the people that needed to hear the gospel, that was the supernatural gift of the gift of tongues,